Sports professor Rick Horrow with Beyond the Scoreboard, the serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously. We get into a whole bunch of diverse stuff this week. NFL halfway through, college football. The polling is out again, and we're going to have that discussion every week for the next 5 or 6 weeks. NHL going strong, NBA as well. And I said I wouldn't do a whole lot of discussion as a formerly long-suffering Cub fan. I remember that game against Detroit on October 10th, 1908, when the Cubs won. And I said, I guarantee you we're going to be here every year. But listen, I'm just kidding. Bottom line is, this is a riveting 40 million television sets, many more devices millennials had, and the matchup may have gone down in the best baseball game in history. Nobody will ever know. But a 31.1 rating. And the bottom line is Major League Baseball with a $1.3 billion average franchise valuation, along with the idea that Major League Baseball's parity with 25 teams in the playoffs over the last 5 years, including obviously now a Cub dynasty. Is that possible? Well, listen. The bottom line is that Major League Baseball continues to do very, very well, and the Cubs with their new curse breaker trademarked over goat and their Fly the W equipment and merchandise, it'll set records as we go forward as well. And the bottom line is 200 countries with 20 languages, well over the $200 million economic impact for the 8 games at home and 9 away games, attracting thousands of folks around Wrigleyville. And clearly, this is for an international audience now as well, and Chicago couldn't be better. I said I wouldn't talk about baseball, but listen, let's put it to rest for a little while. A great series, great economics, great value. We have a great show, by the way. Todd Klein talking about the Miami Dolphins' transition to Hard Rock and the stadium. Pat Williams, the senior vice president of the NBA Orlando Magic. And Ron Kind, who's represented Wisconsin's 3rd congressional district since 1997. And he's into physical fitness and sports. And he's the chair of the New Democrat Coalition, in addition to being healthy and playing healthy. A welcome respite from the political discussions we've had over the last few long months. Rick Horrow, sports professor, Beyond the Scoreboard.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $24.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $24.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card.
Call 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more.
Call now, 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply. Subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
Sometimes what you want most from your car is nothing. No headaches, no surprises, no anxiety when it's late at night and you're on some distant freeway in a thunderstorm. Owning a certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz can be that anxiety-free experience on every level. You know you're in one of the safest and most thoughtfully engineered vehicles on the road. And with an unlimited mileage warranty, you can drive as far as you want for up to 3 years, with roadside assistance included. Your sense of confidence and adventure are as unlimited as the warranty itself. Now you can drive the car of your dreams and realize that nothing is everything. And during the certified pre-owned sales event, now through August 31st, you can receive 2 years of complimentary prepaid maintenance and 0.99% APR financing on select models, available through Mercedes-Benz Financial Services. You've waited long enough.
See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for complete details and limitations on certified pre-owned warranties. APR offer available only to qualified customers. Call 1-800-FOR-Mercedes for details about costs and terms.
Sports professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, the serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously. Todd Klein enters his second season with the Dolphins as Senior Vice President, Chief Commercial Officer, having been named to that position last year. He came to the Dolphins after serving as SVP of Partnerships and Media Sales for AEG, NFL Players Association, and Account Director at Group MESP. He's a guy who's served on all sides of the aisle, but more important than that, he's a guy who's dealt with the Hard Rock name, with the new Dolphins name and signature, design of the new facility and the renovated facility. The bottom line of all of this is Todd Klein knows what he's talking about. Here he is now.
Rick Horrow keeping score in the boardroom again, and we continue to have a diverse group of guests on, from owners to executives to marketing folks, and we even let a couple of players and agents kind of worm their way on from time to time. And now we have somebody who has a perspective that is a little bit different because it is so diverse. He has a Master of Science in Marketing at Johns Hopkins. Then he goes to the Players Association of the NFL, gets some perspective there. Then he's at AEG, which is a big deal, sponsoring and launching partnership innovation. More particularly, second season Miami Dolphins, the Chief Commercial Officer, great title. It gives you some perspective about all of the stuff that Todd Klein does, and he does it really, really well, including the quarterback or a confidant, certainly intimately involved in the new Hard Rock deal. Todd, how's that for an intro?
Rick, I appreciate you reading everything we sent you off the paper.
Well, yeah, I amended a little bit, too, and give you some editorialization, but it is all true, and it's really important from your perspective, and the Dolphins are really good to have you. So welcome on board, maybe a year and a half late. Obviously, you've been involved for a long time. In the last couple of years, intensely committed to getting the Hard Rock deal done. So give us kind of an elevator speech about the Hard Rock deal and what it is and how you got it done.
Well, Rick, first, it's great to be with you. It's an honor to be on the podcast. And, I think, anyone will tell you who has been involved in naming rights, whether it be for an iconic entertainment destination in Miami or a small facility anywhere in any league. These are complex partnerships and deals that take a lot of hard work, time, effort, energy, commitment at all levels to see it through. And when you take a globally iconic brand like Hard Rock, who is in 70 countries and with 167 cafes and 23 hotels, and truly is one of the great brands of the modern era. And you marry that with with the Miami Dolphins, and in South Florida, you sort of have this marriage that we think is going to be one of the more unique and innovative partnerships over the next 18 years.
The familiarity sometimes breeds contempt and sometimes breeds entrepreneurialism, and in this case, Hard Rock, one of its biggest brand awareness facilities, is just up the road in Hollywood. Everybody's known it. And, of course, the top executives of Hard Rock have always been around the Dolphins. The Super Bowl came into play. The $400 million upgrade of the facility came into play. And, of course, Steve Ross's vision and entrepreneurialism came into play. How did it all get done?
Well, you just mentioned a lot. I mean, the vision of our CEO Tom Garfinkel and the commitment of our owner Stephen Ross to do something in that I've never been a part of before, which is completely, renovating, a stadium, while the team has been playing in it, and, everything down to the cable trays was redone, and really the only thing that stayed the same, Rick, was the address. And when you can articulate that vision from someone like Mr. Ross, who was used to doing skyscrapers in New York and in London and building skylines, I mean, there's very few owners that could ever execute a vision like he had. And when you present that to people at Hard Rock, and you can show them sort of what it can do for their brand, and really understand, the power of naming rights. We talk a lot about, it's so much more than just putting your name on a stadium, what it does for your brand and where it takes you, and how it permeates pop culture and sort of the ethos of the universe. Naming rights is really, it's a special partnership and relationship for a brand to take on. And you look at where Hard Rock is going, and it is so much from their humble days of with one cafe in London to to building hotels in Russia and China, and their growth in Latin America. It's just very a perfect alignment of market, objective, venue, and brand, and that's where you get hopefully what we think is going to be truly a transformational relationship for all parties.
Todd Klein, the CCO, as well as the Senior Vice President, the Chief Commercial Officer, is a big deal, and that's really important. You've got a situation where it's an existing facility. It looks new, feels new, but ask people like Wells Fargo's marketing guys in Philly as they try to replace the Spectrum and even a different name after that, and some of the other folks where they take over existing buildings, the new name of what used to be U.S. Cellular in Chicago. It's not that easy. And to compound that, the Dolphins went through an underwear company. Then they went through a 1.5-year joint venture with a beer. Although there's obviously a lot more to it than that facility and that icon. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not always easy to adapt a particular circumstance and situation. So, again, from that perspective, how do you overcome some of those commercial obstacles?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it speaks to the design and the uniqueness of what has been built here at Hard Rock Stadium, and we talk a lot about very simple things about what our fans and fan engagement is about, and really at the end of the day, what's different is when you can cover 92% of your fans with an iconic shade canopy and actually make them comfortable during your games and during your events, and completely change the look and feel of the stadium. The reaction to that has been really off the charts. And, anyone who has seen sort of the transformation over the last 3 years has experienced, not just the shade, but the upgraded concessions, the upgraded Wi-Fi, the upgraded 4 massive video boards, and, 22,000 square feet of high-def interaction between our fans, the way our shift to mobile ticketing, our shift in customer service and mentality. So it wasn't just a name that changed. It really was an entire, facility that was overhauled from, really the, all the way from the 300 level, the last row all the way down to the first. And when you can do that and you can attribute it to a hospitality brand and like Hard Rock, and, you sort of very quickly get rid of some of the legacy objections of the stadium, and you can see our fans really responding to what Mr. Ross and Tom Garfinkel have built here.
Yeah, and we all know as I've been a lifetime Dolphin fan from maybe 1866, let alone 1966, and the whole evolution of the Dolphins is the perfect season, then the branding, then the 50 years, and moving from the Orange Bowl, and now it feels like an entirely new stadium. But that's for you to sell and me to validate. But the other piece of this, I guess, from a Hard Rock perspective, is you're buying into a new facility, but you're also buying into major soccer matches, you're buying into college national championship commitments long term, and you're also buying into Super Bowl/Super Bowls, which is also very important.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, the content is what really sets this venue apart. When we started speaking with companies about naming rights, one of the things we just talked about, it's not a stadium, it really is a global entertainment destination, and that's what ultimately South Florida deserves, as the capital of Latin America and the second busiest international airport behind JFK in New York, second largest banking center in the U.S. behind New York City, 35 nonstop flights a day to Latin America and over 100 million tourists. We needed to build a facility that actually would service that market. We're excited about the future, and we hope that everyone comes down and enjoys our weather, our sunshine, and comes here for a great event at Hard Rock Stadium.
Todd Klein, a lot of different perspective about the Dolphins and about Hard Rock Stadium. The bottom line of Todd Klein's involvement is it's a significant public-private partnership. More on the private side. Really happy. Speaking of public-private partnerships, Orlando Magic, Pat Williams, be up in a minute.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for prescription drugs? Well, we have great news. Now you can finally get prescription drugs at huge discounts from Canada Drug Center. That's right, the most popular drugs for cholesterol, high blood pressure, depression, diabetes, arthritis, and many more are now up to 75% off. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices when you can get brand name drugs at the lowest price? Call today and get up to 75% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs. Never pay high prices again. Get the most popular drugs at huge savings from our Canadian and international pharmacies and fulfillment centers. No insurance? No problem. Prices are so low you do not need benefits or insurance to get all your prescriptions fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting to take your call now. Order today and get free shipping. Just call 800-950-1180. Up to 75% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs and free shipping. Call 800-950-1180. That's 800-950-1180.
$100 million in jury verdicts and settlements for serious injury victims, medical malpractice victims, and surviving family members of wrongful death victims. Trial Lawyers for Justice. This is a firm that does not handle frivolous lawsuits. They go after insurance company money, and they're darn good at it. They don't sell their clients out or settle cheaply. Trial Lawyers for Justice, the firm that goes the distance for you, their client. They treat their clients the way you would want your own family members taken care of. Nicholas Rowley, Dominic Pachota, and the other trial lawyers in the firm at Trial Lawyers for Justice, dedicated to representing the people and their families in Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Illinois, California, Wyoming, and many other states. Trial Lawyers for Justice. $100 million in settlements and jury verdicts already in 2016. 888-811-0844. TL4J.com. Trial Lawyers for Justice.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-480-5708. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-480-5708. That's 800-480-5708. Again, 800-480-5708.
Rick Horrow beyond the scoreboard. Pat Williams, Senior Vice President of the NBA's Orlando Magic, one of the top motivational, inspirational, and humorous speakers. He's authored 71 books, and he's been involved with the Phillies, the Twins, the Bulls, the Hawks, the 76ers, the Magic. It's been co-founded in 1987, and 23 of his teams have gone on to the NBA playoffs. He certainly knows what he's doing. Pat Williams. Rick Horrow keeping score in the boardroom yet again, and this is it's inspirational to me because we have some of the kind of contemporary young folks who are just getting into the business from time to time on this show. We know we have all kinds, but yet I'm really honored to have somebody who I consider a good friend. He's been involved in sports as long as I can remember. He's been a general manager since 1968. He was involved in leading the '83 world champion Sixers. He basically founded the Magic. There were other people involved, but he was involved as well. And with his 500 or more companies that he speaks to around the country, and his 19 children, and his 100 books that he's written, I don't even know if he has time to be on this show, so we'll speak pretty quickly. Pat Williams, how are you?
Rick, nice to hear from you, and always good to catch up with you. I appreciate the call.
Anytime. So first of all, before we even start about the Magic and about Dr. J and about the current folks in the NBA and the Sixers and the like, tell me about the book, the latest one that you've done and you're proud of.
Rick, it's called Humility, and I take the position that humility is a characteristic that we can learn. I don't think you're born with it. I think we need to be taught the importance of having a humble spirit. And I've been very fortunate in my life in sports to observe and watch and see the power of a humble spirit in a John Wooden or a Lamar Hunt, a Julius Erving comes to mind, Dr. Billy Graham, and others who just have a wonderful touch and way with people because despite their position of great wealth or great power, they don't flaunt it, and they live a life of humility. So that's left a deep imprint on my life, and I've tried to pass that along in this book, that there's great power and great strength in the possession of a humble spirit. And we can all work at that, and we can all improve and become better in that department.
Certainly, we all can, and it's a book with teachings, and clearly it resonates with your experience in life and in sports. How could it not? I would just ask generally. You did mention Dr. J, who is a friend and clearly elegant is the way to describe him, I think. And you also mentioned others of that ilk, Pat, John Wooden and the like. There is always the discussion, I guess, that Charles Barkley, who you drafted, argued early on, I don't know if he still adheres to this position, that we're not athletes are not role models, and that you got to have other role models, and that what kind of responsibility, Pat, do you think is created by being a professional athlete in terms of giving back and doing the right thing?
Well, Rick, I think that it's part of your obligation, and I would argue with my friend Charles that athletes, yes, you are a role model. The way you act, the way that you conduct yourself, the way you handle yourself, what you say, on and off the court, is leaving a deep imprint. And young people and older alike are watching, and we all want, listen, Rick, we all are desperate for heroes in this country. We want heroes, and we don't have cowboys anymore. We don't have military leaders. We have coaches, and we have athletes, who really are our heroes today, although the military are our true heroes, but I'm arguing that you get into the sports business, you're on stage, you're known, you're watched, and I argue that you've got an obligation to your many, many fans to live your life the right way, to live it properly, and entwined with that is a truly humble spirit. That's going to permeate and touch everything you do.
The spirit is clearly an inspiration in and of itself, and this is not a political question, and don't take it this way, but now we mercifully, in my mind, have 8-9 days, whatever it is, until the rhetoric of this campaign is over, and I've just authored a piece on, you contrast what is going on in Cleveland and Chicago, respectively, with basketball and baseball in Cleveland and baseball in Chicago, and what sports can do to bring people together. And I guess you could argue, regardless of the political fence you're on, that after the rhetoric of this campaign, I think America needs healing more than ever, and maybe sports can be part of that solution. What's your take on that?
Rick, I like that. I like that take. Sports is always the solution. Whether it was after the tragic days of 9/11, when sports was shut down for a few days, it was at that point that I realized how important sports is to this country. Those 4 days after 9/11, the whole world stopped, and there was no sports to follow, and we had lost our sideline that keeps all of us going, whether it's college football or a major league pennant race or any of the sports. I mean, that's really what provides America with joy and rooting interest and all. It just permeates our soul as residents of this country. So to me, sports is always the solution, after we've gone through tough times. And I think after this long election period, I think back to the primaries. That seems like 10 years ago. I think we're all going to be relieved when this is over and we can get back to living our lives normally or more normally.
Well, I think we're ready for a mutual search for civility, but that's not what this interview is about. It's about a whole bunch of different things from the perspective of Pat Williams. Speaking of perspective, as far as basketball is concerned, you've been in the league for 957 years. And if you have a magic wand that would be given to you by Adam Silver for a day, what would you change?
Oh, that's a good question. I wouldn't change anything with the rules. I think they're fine. I think the magnitude and the sweep of the game, around the world is enormous. I wouldn't change anything there. I think we've fine-tuned the rules, Rick. They're just about as perfect as we can get them. I don't know. If I could change anything, I'd bring back Mendy Rudolph.
That's great.
I'd bring back Jake O'Donnell. I'd bring back Dick Pavetta.
History is what you'd bring back as well, and I think you'd probably bring back
Earl Strom. I'd give anything to see Earl make a call.
Wow.
One more time.
Let the record reflect that Pat Williams had the ability to change anything he wanted to in the NBA, and his answer was to bring back 3 referees. Well, good for you. Good for you. Hey, so the other piece of the business side of this is that the salaries are higher than you could have ever envisioned, I assume, and a lot of it is the function directly of the increased revenue share out of TV. Are we in a position now where we're at a crossroads where everything's getting so expensive we've got to really worry about pricing the average fan out of existence, or is the league going to survive like it always has?
Well, Rick, you're right, and we've got to be very, very careful about how we price our buildings. We've got to be very careful that we don't price the normal fan out of coming to enjoy an NBA ball game. That's something that each franchise has to be alert to and wrestle with and make sure they handle properly according to their market. But you're right, it's been a very positive sign that this kind of money is coming to the league. The TV contracts are staggering, and the players share in their portion of that. And so this past summer we saw some very, very big contracts. But we can afford them, and the players are part of that family, part of that team, and they've earned it. And so thus the price of being a basketball player has gone up. And that's good news for the players, and it'll eventually settle down again. But right now it was a good year to, let's put it this way, it was a good year to be a free agent.
Yeah, true, and it'll be a good year to be a free agent this year as well, as we know. Are we comfortable with the, at least I've been arguing, and hopefully a lot of other people will be, that the D-Day of December 15 to opt out of this existing agreement is just an empty date that nobody's going to worry about, and that we're going to get an extension done before Thanksgiving, and that everybody is going to be happy with labor in the future in the NBA? What's your take?
Well, Rick, all the reports are very encouraging. Obviously, and none of those discussions are open to public consumption, but all the early reports are the two parties are having good discussions, and everything that we're hearing is of a positive nature, which is really, really good news, that the players and the league can work this thing out and avoid any long-term problems.
Pat Williams talks about sports, politics, and doing the right thing. He certainly should be listened to. Next up, Congressman Ron Kind.
And now, today's General Steel building tip. Buy a large lot with a friend or family member that can be split into two smaller lots. Some of the most appealing properties may be much larger than what you want or can afford. Yet the seller may not be willing to break up a large parcel. So if you can share the costs with someone else, preferably someone you don't mind having as a neighbor, you may be able to pick up a great building site for a reasonable price. And now, a word from General Steel.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 866-95-STEEL. 866-95-STEEL. That's 866-95-STEEL.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 877-663-7126 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 877-663-7126 to take your call now. Call 877-663-7126. That's 877-663-7126. Again, 877-663-7126.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply, subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
Rick Horrow, sports professor, the serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously, but we talk about sports, politics, and health. Ron Kind represented Wisconsin's 3rd Congressional District since 1997. Ways and Means Committee. He serves on the subcommittee on trade. He's former co-chair of the Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus and the former co-chair of the Congressional Sportsmen's Alliance. He has a very interesting concept of sports, politics, training, obviously impacting all teams and leagues. Ron Kind.
Rick Horrow keeping score in the boardroom yet again. We've had a lot of diversity over the past few months with some players, a few sprinkled in owners. We even allowed a couple of agents to grace our show under some significant duress. But, it's time that we deal with somebody that has wide-ranging importance, not just because he's an elected official from Wisconsin's 3rd Congressional District and has been so since 97, but he's also a Harvard guy, and so I don't know that I got into Harvard, but I went to Harvard Law instead and looked back and down. And then the other piece of this is, even more important than that, he's worried about everybody's health. He's worried about the Congressional Fitness Caucus, and I could spend the entire time introducing Representative Kind, but Ron, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, Rick. Glad to be with you.
Thank you very much for this. So give me the quick elevator speech on how important it is for everybody to stay healthy and how the government can actually help that.
Well, it is important. I think we've learned through research and just through our own personal experiences that staying active physically helps not only your health, but your state of mind and your productivity and your overall wellness. I think it's been said that the greatest antidepressant ever invented is good old-fashioned sweat, and it's just staying physically active. But it's also important healthcare-wise so that we don't develop chronic diseases that will require management for the better part of our life and the expense that comes along with it and the lost productivity as an individual. So I've tried to lead an active life, and I've tried to pass that on to my own family, but now in my position as a representative of the United States Congress, I've been taking this agenda at the federal level and figuring out how best to assist people so that we make the healthy choice, the easy choice in their life.
And honestly, it's a collaborative effort, and it can't be just one dominating among others. Give me, at least at the federal level, the short, non-complicated version of how the President's Council works with the First Lady's initiative, works with Congress. Tell me it's not politicized.
Well, it isn't, and I think this is one of those great nonpartisan issues that parties can reach across the aisle and work on together. I've worked on legislation with some of my Republican colleagues, and including the initiatives at in the administration. The President's Council on Physical Fitness is something that's been there for quite a while through numerous administrations. They usually have a nonpartisan or bipartisan panel that oversees the entire program. I was very happy to see the First Lady take up this cause, try to get the youth of our country more physically active and eating more healthy too. And our children, they need some role models from time to time. And it's helpful when they see the adults in their lives that are, A, concerned about their health, but B, also showing them good examples of what healthy living looks like.
So Ways and Means, obviously, you've been a member. You have jurisdiction over tax policy, Medicare, Social Security, international trade. A lot of that impacts health. Some of it doesn't, but obviously all of it relates to small business, healthcare challenges, insurance premiums. Intuitively, you would argue that this would be good for the insurance industry and good for everybody. But so what is the appropriate role of the federal government, let's say, in keeping us healthy?
Well, I think a couple of things. One, I've worked on a physical education curriculum at the federal level to try to help school districts, large and small, to develop best practices and a good, healthy curriculum for their PE classes. The PE today is different from when maybe you and I were growing up, where it was more of an emphasis on sports and athleticism. But now the curriculum is shaped around each of the individual's own capability and a participatory way, too. So if you're not the most gifted athlete, there's still a role for you to play in the physical education curriculum of your school. And I think that's important, so we're not shutting students out or leaving them on the sidelines or whatever. One is also nutrition standards, too, so that we know what works and what doesn't in the world of nutrition, and trying to get more of our children exposed to that, those healthy choices and the diversity of food products, so it's not all just processed or fried foods that they're pumping into their bodies. And we also know through research that it's hard to develop a healthy mind without a healthy body. So we know class performance, test performance, graduation rates, attention span in school is also very much linked to how healthy those students are. And so there's a real incentive, I think, for us as a society to understand what this research shows and then trying to, through policy and working with localities and states, to make sure that the programs make sense so that ultimately our children are the direct beneficiaries in all this.
Graduation rates, certainly former Secretary Duncan was very clear as it relates to college athletics. One of the few shining linkages recently, I think, although it's been relatively under the radar, is that the college football excess teams that go bowling, well, not only eligibility, but remember last year they picked the under 500 bowl teams that were eligible basically solely on APR, on academic progress rate. So more seems to be done, but yet what kind of leverage can you bring to the table to help implement some of these general ideas?
Well, I think it has to be a true partnership, Rick. And listen, I'm a former collegiate athlete myself, played college football, quarterback in the Ivy League, and enjoyed that experience. But trying to strike that right balance between the demands of collegiate sports and the academic opportunities that you don't want to pass up either is a real challenge, given the competitiveness now of collegiate sports. So we want to work with them, make sure that the incentives are aligned right, that there's enough accountability and enough emphasis on classroom work too. So it's not all just out on the field that the student is getting their value from. And also, oversight. Congress is from time to time is not afraid to hold some hearings to bring people in and ask questions as far as what's working. Plus, there's a tremendous amount of federal dollars that go into higher education through the need-based financial aid programs, tax incentives for higher education too. So I think there's certainly a national interest in what's getting done on our campuses throughout America.
I'm pretty sure since you've been representing the 3rd District since '97, you have a pretty good idea of where the leverage points are and where the dollars could be to make something really happen. You talked about the mind. As far as the body, I've been on the board of directors of Pop Warner for years, and one of the things that's very interesting, obviously, is the whole dynamic of parental choice and when enough information is provided to parents so they can make fundamental choices, like will you allow your 12-year-old to play tackle football, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Where are you on that whole issue generally?
Well, clearly, listen, I'm also the father of 2 boys that love sports. They play football. They've gone on to college now where they're continuing to play football. And to be truthful, I suffered some concussions when I played at the high school and collegiate level, and you worry about that as a parent. But I'm glad to see that there's a lot of research, a lot of focus in this area right now, from Pop Warner all the way up through the NFL and what the NFL is contributing to the scientific research in this area. More needs to be done clearly so we understand the dynamics of a traumatic brain injury and the effects of concussion and the longer-term implications. And that's going to be important for us to stay on top of. I mean, they're trying to adjust the tackling technique, for instance, with younger players in Pop Warner, for instance. That could certainly help. But I don't want to limit this just to football either. There's a lot of girl sports that's high contact and head contact too, and a lot of concussions at that level. So this is pretty much a universal issue that's going to require, I think, a lot of focus from a lot of different areas. One other item too that I would raise with this, Rick, is it's the opioid exposure to our children too for pain medication. And I want us to be careful about prescribing these pain medications, these opioid prescription drugs to young children, because of the possibility of brain development, addiction problems. This is something that's sweeping our country right now, and yet I've noticed that in youth sports there has been a tendency to go down that opioid route with these kids when we really don't have a full understanding if that's in their best interest. So I've been very active on that front as well.
Well, Ron, it is interesting because when you listen to your
self-perceived and legitimate and appropriate mandate, thought of a kind of a child and youth and physical education czar comes to mind. I know that's a lot of what the President's Council is supposed to be encompassing as well. But will we have a day soon that all of these issues can be comprehensively explored in some kind of an interrelated way? And is it conceivable to think that the rhetoric can be less incendiary so people actually can see where the science is and make some informed choices?
Yeah, Rick, I think you raise a very interesting point. I mean, there's a lot of work coming from a lot of different entities and sources, a lot of money being spent, but I don't feel, and I sense you don't either, that there's enough coordination or enough of a comprehensive approach to all of this. And that's something that I think we ought to be exploring as well. I mean, the President does have his Council on Physical Fitness, which is nice, but there's a lot more layers to this than just that. And we may have to consider how we can best coordinate or integrate into a single entity, some type of czar-like function that would be solely focused on this and bringing in all the various pieces to it so we can really start connecting the dots the way they should be. So I think that might be one of the challenges that we need to take up here.
Well, I would tell you, straight up that on behalf of Pop Warner and everything that I do, I'd be all in. And, well, on that issue, because we do want to spend a bit more time on this, if you didn't mind, I want to save it for last. Where do you think it's going actually? It certainly won't get done this session. Nothing will. But I'm just wondering if you think you have a legitimate timetable for getting this implemented. It seems to be intuitively feasible, and it seems to it should merit no serious opposition. But, you never know.
Yeah, we're hoping and strengthen numbers, as you can imagine in any democracy, if you can keep building support on both sides of the aisle and just tee it up. But, one of the things that we try to be careful about is when we are offering tax incentives or tax breaks, that you find a way to pay for it at the same time so you're not blowing up the budget deficit. And that's one of the things holding us back, is trying to find appropriate offsets then within the tax code to help pay for this new incentive, which I think is needed and would pay tremendous dividends down the road with less chronic disease management and the $160 billion in costs that we're already incurring every year, because not that everyone would participate in what we're offering, but just trying to figure out ways to incent more physical activity, to encourage people, especially those of lower income who may not be able to afford it on their own. They want to buy a bike or some other athletic tool or some gym membership in their area, that there's a way for them to do that.
Well, clearly, which listeners here and the host of the show had a vote, because it's an obvious answer, and you could make the argument that there are certainly very few other things that could merit expenditure of money on something as this. This is really important, long-term, short-term as well. Wish you real luck. Hopefully we can reconnect and love to do anything to get this thing moving. It's long overdue. Representative Ron Kind. Rick Horrow will be back in a minute. Ron Kind gives us a perspective of what it's like to be involved in the sports and politics at the federal level, and how you can use the aggressiveness as well as leverage of sports to accomplish significant political goals. Next up, Bust, Boom, and Hope. Sports professor Beyond the Scoreboard. See you in a couple of minutes.
We all know healthcare has changed drastically. It's quite the puzzle to sort through your options and find a health insurance plan that's affordable and maximizes your benefits. And you're now required by law to have health insurance, or you may pay a tax penalty. So let the Health Markets Insurance Agency help you. They offer plans from over 120 different companies and can even help you obtain government subsidies. Let them do all the research for you and show you how affordable health insurance can be, a service that's at no extra cost to you. Call now and learn your options to find affordable health insurance. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242. Health Markets Insurance Agency is a DBA or assumed name of Inspire Insurance Solutions, Inc., which is a licensed insurance agency in all 50 states and D.C. Not all agents are licensed to sell all products. Service availability varies by state.
Attention, if you've had hip replacement surgery and suffered any complications, you need to listen to this important legal alert. Major manufacturers have made billions of dollars available to award legal claims for defective hip implants. Thousands of these defective hip implants have been recalled by various manufacturers. If you've had hip surgery and suffered complications, you may be entitled to receive significant compensation to help you deal with your complications. You may be eligible to receive money to help with medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Protect yourself by hiring an experienced trial attorney. Our partner law firms are experts in hip replacement surgery lawsuits. Find out now if you're eligible to receive any of the $2.5 billion hip settlement fund. Call now for free information. 800-296-1360. 800-296-1360. 800-296-1360. That's 800-296-1360.
Fanatics.com is the place to get your favorite licensed college football fan gear. It's also the place to win the hottest bowl tickets for the season. Pull out your phone and Shazam this ad now for your chance to win an all-inclusive bowl game experience for two. Plus $250 to deck yourself out in officially licensed gear from Fanatics. Inside, you'll also find Fanatics merchandise, apps, and more. If you want to be on the sidelines of the biggest bowl games, Shazam now. If you're a sports fan and you love your team, you gotta check out Fanatics.com. Fanatics is the best place for fan gear from the most trusted brands. Authentic fan gear from the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NCAA college football and basketball. Jerseys, hoodies, t-shirts, hats, collectibles, and more. It's the world's largest collection of official fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and players you love. Everything officially licensed. Go to Fanatics.com for gear and show love for your teams this season. Fanatics. Love never loses.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, the serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously. Bust, boom, and hope. Let's talk about bust. As the Oakland A's continue to reduce spending and have difficulty finding a viable long-term Bay Area stadium plan, look for this leverage to be employed in the Oakland situation over the next couple of years. How about boom? Well, more than ever before, sporting events breaking all sorts of records for giving away the most prize money. Players' Championship broke even more impressive record as the tournament announced it'll donate $8.5 million to area charities. Many of the additional donations can be attributed to a 78% spike in attendance and 116% increase in concession sales over the past 8 years, all stemming from a series of enhancements to the course and obviously the event. And as always, the PGA Tour and golf in general remains the industry standard for charitable donations. Golf, a unique vehicle to intensify social change, and the Guggenheim Women in Tech Championship that begins next Labor Day weekend in Indy combines the LPGA and Guggenheim's efforts to intensify workforce training, urban development, and female workforce training, robotics, urban development, and other positive community goals through a golf tournament and an international event. Look for this to continue. And finally, hope. The bottom line is the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio came and went with a fair share of problems. Over 2 months since the Games finished, hundreds of workers still haven't been paid and are planning to sue the local organizing committee to get their money. Most of the workers that have yet to be paid served as stadium announcers, show producers, and DJs, as well as individuals working in freelance contractors. Multiple have noted this is the first time they've experienced such a problem. Robust conversations on Olympics, and in the past, let's see what happens in the future, they said. But as we all thought, Olympic legacy issues will drive how the real Olympics will be perceived by historians. Atlanta, L.A., London, Sydney all had positive impacts over time. Sochi, Athens, and Beijing, not so much. The next year or so, critical for Rio in that regard. That's our show for today. We'd like to thank Todd Klein with the Dolphins, Pat Williams with the Magic, and Ron Kind representing Wisconsin's 3rd Congressional District, Sports and Health, Sports and Shows, and a whole bunch of different perspectives. Interesting comments this week, more next week when we go Beyond the Scoreboard.